Oh, hello, hello, everybody. I almost knocked over my coffee cup. All right. Well, today I'm going to be continuing my cross stitch. It's been a minute since I picked this one up. All my cross stitch work has been with other projects, so I'm mostly going to work on this today. Maybe I'll work on some of the other ones. Depends on where my attention goes. I've got a new setup for one thing, so as you can see, that's in the way, and it shouldn't be. There we go. So I got a new tripod, basically, is the simple way to put it. And what's funny about this, so I went to go get a new tripod, right? And I got this one's decent, it was cheap, but it does what I need it to. Then that weekend, I went to the thrift store and I found a freaking tripod very similar to it. And I was like, oh, okay. And I bought that one too. So now I have two in case I decide I want to also add in like face cam or something like that to this. I may not, because a lot of my facial expression for this will be me looking down at the stitch, so it probably wouldn't be as entertaining as one might think. If it looks a lot bright, another thing is I'm using my cell phone as opposed to my Logitech webcam, just because it's not very high quality, and I kind of wanted something that was at least decent quality. And even though I was trying to see if I could find like a scroll stand or something like that that I could use, but no, but I did find this at Michael's, and I think this probably works well enough. So basically, even though I haven't been doing this, I've been spending a lot of time trying to work on it, um, to make sure that it's better. Because I know that, of course, one of the problems was that it was also really dark. Because the main lighting in my living room, which is where my computer is not very bright. We have a fan that takes three bulbs, but they're like very small bulbs, like the candlelight size bulbs, or whatever you want to call them. Um, so even at their brightest, they're still not very bright. I mean, the daylight easily overpowers them. So we do have, of course, we also have a lamp to help add to the lighting. But in addition to the ring light that I had before, I actually found another one of those ring lights at a thrift store. And it's like, well, it kind of piled on, didn't it? So I got that one too. So now I've got two of them, and from the way it looks, preview screen, it looks pretty good. I'm trying to make sure that it keeps focus. All right. Yeah, I can see pretty all right. It's just really difficult on a dark colored fabric. Actually, in retrospect, I could have gotten this a lighter color and it might have helped. I won't be streaming for a very long time today. That's because I've got other things I've got to take care of. And I would have gotten started sooner too if it weren't for those meddling kids. I got kind of a mucus buildup, so I'm going to try to avoid making too much noise. Sometimes I get that, my sinuses get a little crazy. Not always super chatty in the morning, to be honest. Not really a morning person. I'm trying not to get too picky about the state of my stitches. Then again, let me see how it looks with the headlamp. Oh, it's a little too much, isn't it? Again, I could always backlight it. Here we go. Oh, now we're not going to do that. Boom. See, there you go. Get that out there. Guess I could probably let some daylight in here. That might help, but probably also make me swelteringly hot. See, part of the problem is when you have like a lot of projects that you're doing at the same time, because you always have to put a little bit of work in each of them. So I've got one I've put on pause. I've got another one I just started on, and I got another one that's sort of a test bed for for a potential project, but I haven't confirmed if I'm going to do it yet because of the limitations. And I'll show you guys that stuff in a little while. Excuse me. I might need to take some Sudafed too. That stuff's like the only thing that can keep my sinuses from going crazy. Hmm. Wait. No, wait. Can I use that? I've got something. Yeah, see? I knew that was going to happen. Ah. Okay. There we go. I hope that you can hear that sound, that slurping sound. If you did, I'm sorry. So I also got this like, it's kind of weird because it's like blue and there's no way to change the color, but maybe I can use it for this. They're like wedge this in here, keep me trapped. It's like a baby chair now. See? Make sure it's not blurry. Put a little. See, it's not even like really super. Well, I guess it is kind of pretty blue. So make sure you get it right there. My head in the way. Yeah. Might be distracting. There we go. So yeah, I put in a lot of work to try to make sure that this one looks a lot better than the other ones. Again, as you can tell, I'm not all that of an expert in streaming. I've had to learn a lot, you know, which is good, don't get me wrong. It's just video editing is a lot easier. It works okay. It can just be really hard to tell exactly where I'm going. Yeah, see, I found on my stream last time. Not last, was it last time? One of the times when I actually played music, some of it got copyright struck, unfortunately. And I'm like, really? Come on. It's kind of one of those things that makes YouTube insufferable. It's like, YouTube, you know, you guys could really like wreck Twitch if you just got rid of some of these idiotic standards and started adding features that help benefit streamers. Like, because YouTube's already got massive, massive viewers. And if you expanded on that, you know, you could, because a lot of people are, you know, you got people that are going away from Twitch, people that don't like Twitch's policies, things like that. It's like, that's a market right there you can get into, man. I don't know, it's weird to have to tell the corporation, you know, hey, you can make money, you know. I only guess it probably has to do with like because of the majority of the rest of their content, they have like deals and stuff like that with the studios and networks and all that to where they have these in place. Because to be honest, that's most likely what it is. French press. Oh, yeah. That's just a case of like, hey, you know, Paramount won't post videos on YouTube unless they have the et cetera, et cetera. And this is my cross stitch cup. See, it's got cross stitch flowers. It's very cool. I picked that up at a thrift store. I do a lot of thrifting. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of stuff that's better when it's that's there's a lot of older stuff that's better than what we have now. And that's an absolute fact. It's like, yeah, I'm not using a 15-year-old desktop. That's not better. But stuff like, oh, I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. I'll tell you one thing. Some older tools are a lot better. Like Craftsman used to have tools that were made in the US, and they were some of the best tools you could buy. Now they're not, unfortunately. Bitrate is looking kind of rough. It should be fine. I tell you, just IP laws really irk me because it's not just the piece of music that you have to worry about, it's the performance. So, yeah, there might be that Bach piece is obviously in the public domain, but the orchestra that played it, they can copyright strike you because their performance is copyrighted. So essentially, there is no public domain unless the artist intentionally makes it public domain. Which is really cool that some people do now. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of that same thing about when people ask you to do a job for free for them, you know, because they'll say they'll give you exposure. It's not always the best for your business. I'm thinking about it. I may redo this part of the C because honestly it looks really bad. And I know some of it in the middle here is kind of rough, but I think that C looks so bad that it might be to, I might have to just do over the whole thing. Like like this, because it's kind of a field, it doesn't have to be, come on, focus. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. Can I zoom it? Should I zoom? And then can I focus? There we go. Ah, see, that would be the problem I was worried about zooming. Is I don't want to straddle this fucking thing. But also don't want to like have most of the frame filled up with like my rug and my legs, especially because I didn't vacuum the rug yesterday like a genius. I completely forgot to do so, to be honest. A little bit of that oopsie daisy. Come on, give me some light here. Where is it? Actually, this actually works. Here we go. There it is. Maybe that's what I need, like a lighted. Ooh, this is actually working really well. Except when my hands get in the way. Again, I get IP laws. I get how, you want to create something and then get get paid for your creation. Like stuff like that makes sense, right? But the thing is that they're so complex, like every set of laws in this country, and it's to the point where, again, just like a lot of other laws related to business, they basically they basically become a roadmap for how corporations can fuck small businesses, small content creators too. So you want to make a song, but then fucking Sony decides that it's too close to one of their songs, even though you thought of it all on your own. So now you have to either give up and rewrite the song, or somehow get enough money to beat the lawyers of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Because there's actually like patent trolls and stuff like that that exist that help ruin small businesses. Because some people decide they want to essentially steal the patent for something. Which that's a whole complex thing. So I like to tell people the original setup made sense, right? The original setup where you had 52 years before something hit the public domain, right? That makes sense because let's say once say you turn 18, right? And then you create something. Well, that means by the time you hit age 70, then you get to decide whether or not you've, well, then at that point, it goes in the public domain. That's pretty reasonable, I feel like. I feel like if you made a property when you were 18 and didn't make as much money that you're ever going to make by the time you're age 70, you're probably not going to make any money off of it. Like it's not like once you hit age 72, that's going to be your year. You're going to be like, "Oh, my comic book character is finally taken off. Yes, now I can be a millionaire for the last 3 years of my life." It's not to say there aren't late bloomers, obviously, you know, but there's a huge difference between a late bloomer and whatever the hell Disney's doing. There used to be a website. It was basically like a wiki for sheet music. It was like the International Sheet Music Database or whatever. Where basically you had ways to get just free sheet music, which is like awesome, you know. So like, oh hey, you want to get a copy of Scott Joplin's The Entertainer, a copy of the original sheet music, so you can learn how to play it without playing some like parsed down version or whatever, you know. So it's like, yeah, you go there, you download it, you print it out, and you're good to go. The problem was it got shut down because it was on the internet. And because it was on the internet, it was accessible by every country. Well, every country doesn't have the same IP laws. So something that was public domain in one country wasn't public domain in another. So it got shut down, which is ridiculous because you could literally have a case where a piece of music in its original country is public domain, but because it's not public domain in another country, they could shut it down. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like, come on. And it's like, what do you think they were doing? They're not scamming people. It's not like the ghost of Scott Joplin's going to come back and be like, "Oh, you stole my music." To be honest, I don't think he would care. I don't think he gives a shit. Most people don't even know what ragtime is anymore anyway. But there's also a lot of things where, because corporations are so involved with the media industry. Well, I mean, they are media corporations. They have everything's complicated, right? I mean, just watch the credits of any modern movie and you realize, holy crap, how many people were involved in the creation of just one project. So it ends up being this like big thing. But, you know, I just don't like having to worry about copyright strikes. I had a meme I posted. Well, I actually have a couple of memes that have been copyright struck. That I've got two of them I've got to re-edit. One of them I don't think it was a strike. I think it was just a claim. Again, that's another thing about YouTube that drives me crazy, is the fact that they don't make it simple. It has to be complex, doesn't it? It's like, well, we got strikes and we got claims and we got. It's like I just want to make videos, guys. Come on. Like, tell you what, you can shut down my channel once I post the entire Avengers Endgame on YouTube. Then feel free to shut down my channel because I shouldn't be doing that. And that's the funny part is that there are plenty of people that I've seen post content that is just straight up episodes of a TV show or something. They just like flip it or they do like this weird zooming or they edit it kind of weird. And yeah, the channels ultimately get caught and shut down, but it's like a lot of people watch those channels. Like they'll pop up and then have 500,000 subscribers, like in a very short period of time. YouTube's got some great stuff too, where they give you where you can have they'll have various movies and stuff you can go and watch with ads and everything. The only downside about that is that they are edited, so you end up having some movies that are cut to hell, and it's like, why? Wait, see if I do it from far away. There we go. Yeah, Stitch is a little messed up, but whatever. It'll be fine. I used to think if I leave it like that, is that a real problem? Not really. So then I don't have to like go and grab it. I can do it like this. I mean, hell, I've got lots of memes and stuff, and hey, if someone wants to credit me for them, absolutely, you know. And if they don't, fuck it, who cares? That's part of why I'm not monetizing any of this. I don't want to have my channel monetized. I don't want to make money off of it. I don't want to make my life off of it. Definitely don't want to be dependent on it. Coming together. Excuse me. I'm coming to the end of this strand, so excuse me. And knock everything down. You see? Ooh, look at my hands. case you can't tell, I drop everything in the universe. That's why I'm not allowed to work at a nuclear power plant. Not after the incident. So I'll show you these two. So we got this one. Yeah. Bet you can tell what it is, huh? It's actually one of the letters from a triple triad card from Final Fantasy VIII. I took it from the bare pixels and then did a little bit of work to try to figure out a way to decrease the resolution without affecting the scale too much. Because the letters, numbers, the characters on the cards are made up of, well, the entire cards are essentially made up of pixels. But the pixels are not square. They're 7 by 9 pixels, actually. That's high resolution. It's 32-bit resolution, right? So, they're essentially 7 by 9. So I very slightly changed the scale to 3 by 4. And so then I essentially stitched these little 3 by 4 pixels. And then also parsed down the colors because it has a lot of color blending. So I'm going to eventually finish this, and I'm going to see how it looks compared to the original. And see, and then from there I'm going to figure out what could possibly be done. Because I'm trying to see if it's possible to cross stitch a triple triad card. Because the problem is on the standard size, it's going to be massive. You know, because again, it's very high. It's a high resolution, relatively, right? It would end up being huge. So I was like, yeah, we can't do that. That would take something that would take years and would be the size of a portrait, right? Scaling it down to this makes it much more manageable, but it still would be like freaking, you know, Mona Lisa size, right? You'd be looking at like a good sized thing. So I'm trying to figure out a way that I can translate this, because 3/4, it's about, you know, a 70, you know, the width is about 75% of the height. On the 7 by 9, it's like 77%, so it's like close enough where the 3 by 4 is pretty much the same. Especially as you get smaller, it's going to be pretty much the same. So I'm just trying to figure out how I can do that, because then I could probably like cross stitch, like it probably wouldn't be as small as a triple triad card, because let me get this out. Like the possibility of making it this size is extremely difficult, you know, because I mean, you look at the size of the lettering on it. There's almost no way that that would be possible, without making it look goofy. You know, without doing like a lot of line stitching and other things like that. So I'm trying to see what I could possibly do about making it a small size. I gotta stretch a little bit. Oh. And so as part of this experiment, first seeing how it looks, and then going from there. Because again, you can get smaller fabric too, but as you get smaller fabric, it's going to get harder and harder to stitch. Then the other one also has to do with triple triad. Huh, interesting, huh? And this is what I've got so far on my triple triad board. As you can see, it's coming along quite well. Because once I finish that part, then the main part of it's done. I've got a few extra little things to put in there. It's got these little teeth sort of shaped things that stick up. Then I want to think about how I want to do the font triple triad. Then I want to put a score thing at the bottom that goes, you know, that goes 1 through 9, right? And same thing, but I want it to have the 5 be like one big letter. Since when it's 5, it's, you know, 5 on 5. Just it's gonna be a big project, that's for sure. Because this is taking me a lot of time. I essentially had to custom make it. I didn't do it directly from the pixels. And that's because of the same deal with the triple triad cards, that the resolution, trying to match the resolution to it. Plus, I didn't want to have like various colors of like black and then gray and then lighter gray, then even lighter gray, and then all that kind of stuff. I just essentially like eyeballed it to try to make it from that. And I think it came along pretty well. Like it looks, to me it looks really good. I just have to like add a lot, finish it and add some more touches to it. And that's because the triple triad board that came with the cards. My thing's unbuttoned. Oops. This is not that kind of stream, you guys. Stop. Stop looking at it. Let me just. There we go. They always do that too. I guess I could probably put on blue jeans, but I don't wanna. It's my house. Wait, hold on. I was gonna do this. I was gonna rip these seams. So. Because I'm gonna redo this right here. So typically what I do here is I try to get as close to the end. Hey, how's it going, Jenny? Well, I will say this is I haven't been doing it a lot lately because one, I wanted to redo my setup because I didn't like the way it looked. My Logitech webcam was ugly. So I'm using my cell phone now. And I got like a good tripod and other things like that. So I do a lot of changing because I want to actually be like a decent setup. Plus I need to make sure there's enough lighting so I can actually tell what the hell I'm even doing. Because this black fabric is a nightmare for me. Come on. Gotta find a good one. Good place to. I might have to undo a good bit. More so than what I thought I was going to be able to do. Gotta figure out where. So it'll definitely be a lot easier for me to do this more often now that I have the proper setup. But it is a lot to it. I'm not all that experienced with the streaming. For me, video editing is a lot easier. But it can also be difficult trying to figure out what to say other than rambling, because that's a thing I have a tendency to do. And today's going to be kind of a short stream. Relatively. I don't think I'm going to do it for like 4 hours, because I've got other things I got to do today. I wanted to get up earlier, but I was so damn tired. So I just slept in. So I'm going to be trying to do this more often. Because I definitely want to finish this on stream and then probably do some other projects. Like I got one I'm doing for one of my coworkers. See, I did one for one of my coworkers, and now her sister's working there. So she's like, "Well, that means you have to do one for her too." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I got to work on that too. along with everything else. But see, what I'm doing with this one is I'm doing other ones alongside of it, because as some people know, with the conversation with Curtis guys, I'm doing this in response to them saying they should make a t-shirt to give people like Spoonie, people who come on there more often. And I was like, a t-shirt? Forget that. I'll make you a cross stitch, because I made one for Paul. And I was like, you know what? I should actually get one, make one for Daniel and Tori too. I mean, like, why leave anybody out? Plus, it keeps me from doing things where I like make mass cross stitches for everybody at group, because I love making cross stitches about mindfulness and stuff. I've done this at least 2 or 3 times where I make like a dozen of them, a dozen of these small cross stitches, and giving them out to people in group. Not only is it good mindfulness, but I feel like it's good, especially for newer people, as they're getting into learning exactly what mindfulness is all about. Having a little reminder, a talisman, a icon, whatever you want to call it, something that helps you remember to be mindful. It's it can really help, because a lot of people can have trouble with it, when they first get into it, because that's the key to it, is being mindful. If you can start by being mindful, then the rest of it gets easier and easier. But if you're not mindful, you can't really do the rest of it. But that's part of the process of learning the skills, is developing that. And again, it all starts with mindfulness. Trying to get this so I can like double thread it in there. Oh, that's close enough. Where did I go? Right here? Here we go. It's close enough. I just like to be super sure. That's twat. I know that, oops, that Cass said she was going to stream today too. I was like, yeah, it's good that she's feeling well enough to stream. And I definitely wouldn't want to miss it. However, I also wanted to finally get started on this again, because I do want to try to finish it sooner than later. I have like, I don't want to get and be like it's February of next year before I finish all 3 of them, because I'm going to send them, or at least what I think the current plan would be to send them to Paul, like I did with his cross stitch, and have him send them out to these individuals. I don't like to have people give me their address on the internet. I guess I'd do it if I ever sell anything on eBay, but that's a different story. That has all this other stuff attached to it. If it's a thing where it's like, hey, I'm a random person and I made you this thing, can I send it to you? I promise it's not a head. And they're like, what? Yeah, I promise you I didn't cut the head off my mailman and I'm about to send it to you. And even though, again, I've been, with the, hanging out with the channel for a while and other things like that, I'm like, it still counts as being a stranger on the internet. I actually learned a new term today in relation to that. They call it a parasocial relationship. I guess where somebody essentially creates or mentally creates like a relationship with people online or something like that. I don't know. I might have to do more reading on it. I think it's an interesting perspective. I'm sure there are a lot of people that probably develop um, a certain perspective for people. Hold on. I'm trying to get this and my brain shutting down. Come on. Yeah, because there's that guy, that one guy who was like obsessed with Bjork or something. And he and heroed because Bjork had gotten in a relationship with somebody or was something like that. And then it's just like, and he recorded videos of himself, including him doing that. And it's like, holy crap. And I assume, again, I haven't done much reading on it, but I just learned about this concept that it's basically like, I guess, people developing strange social relationships with, with people online and giving them maybe more value and weight than what they normally would have. I don't know. Well, it is kind of hard to make friends in real life, especially with a lot of this internet stuff too. There's actually some people that think you're weird if you don't have like a Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever. Which I do have a Facebook, but I deactivate it all the time because I hate Facebook. I only use it because I've got some friends on there that I really care about, and it's the main way I interact with them. Social media, I just can't stand because it creates a lot of problems. Especially because everything like turns into like political arguments or like moral and stuff like that, and just everyone's arguing and everyone acts like a jerk to each other because there's no consequences for it. I hate it. Like, and the worst part is that it's becoming so common that now people are willing to do it in person. See, it used to be the kind of thing where people said all these kind of messed up things to each other over the screen and then acted differently in person, but people are becoming so used to that, they're so inundated with this way of acting that people are willing to act that way in person now. And that's a problem. It's like, really? I like to call it um an induced form of sociopathy. Like, I'm not saying it actually makes them sociopaths, but I'm saying that they effectively gain some of the traits of sociopathy. You know, and and while there's nothing wrong with people who are sociopaths because that's a condition, just like any other mental health thing, and it doesn't mean that they're going to act this way or the other. But I feel like people are adopting like some of the more harmful traits that you can see with sociopathy, and they're just treating each other horribly. And and of course they justify it. They say, well, they're a bad person because of this, therefore I'm allowed to treat them badly. And I'm like, no. It's like, don't treat anyone badly. How about that? Well, unless they try to harm you or someone else, then that's a different situation altogether. But excuse me. And yeah, I know there's some real jerks out there with really jerk ideologies and things like that. Hell, I've met quite a few of them. And just tell them, say, well, I disagree with all that, with everything that you're saying there. You can go and believe whatever you want, buddy. I'm not joining you. But also, I'm not going to invalidate their right to live and exist. Like, look, let's just make it simple. You don't hurt anybody, and we're all kosher. We all can just chill together. Well, we're not together, but we can all chill on the same planet. How about that? It's something that got me when it came to like work was that I worked I worked with one guy and he was I wouldn't necessarily say out there because that's kind of judgmental, but he was kind of he had some interesting beliefs, right? Nothing like really toxic or anything, but definitely stuff that people would disagree with. Like for example, flat earth stuff, type stuff. I can't remember if he actually believed in that, but it was that kind of tough, kind of that kind of stuff. And him and the guy above him, they would get into arguments sometimes about it. And it's like, you guys just, if you guys can't avoid getting into arguments, you guys shouldn't be talking about it at the workplace. They were both really stubborn and passionate, and that's the problem. Of course, one of them would say about the other, oh man, he's so stubborn. He's the most stubborn person I ever met. Buddy boy, who do you think you are? You're crazy stubborn too. That's why you guys keep getting into arguments. Because you're both really stubborn. And you're both letting it get in the way of your work. Ultimately, the guy with the weird beliefs got fired, but that's only because of his work. Luckily. I'm just trying to check my phone and see what the heck is going on. And go stretch a bit. Ugh. Oh. But I did think he wanted to get rid of the guy for a while, but I think that he needed to get rid of him just because of his job performance. So I don't necessarily disagree with that, but it doesn't help when they have these kind of arguments because it's like you do realize that it makes it seem like he is being discriminated against. That's part of the reason why you don't talk about this stuff at work unless you can do so in a rational, reasonable, and fair fashion. Like you just really shouldn't do it at all. But if you're going to, you need to be an adult about it. Because if you don't, especially when they are under you, almost anything you do can be seen under that lens. And to be honest, it probably has something to do with it because we're humans and we all have our subjective perceptions, and that creates bias. So you may not think you're being biased, but other people may see that you actually are, and they may be right. So it's like, yeah, that's part of the reason why you just don't do it. Like I have the guy that's under me, and sometimes his job performance is related. Sometimes he does have job performance issues, and I feel like part of it is related to some of his conditions. Uh, so I do try to be fair in that regard, you know, and I try to work with him. And while I get frustrated sometimes, I don't let it affect our working relationship, because it's not fair to him and it's not effective either. Like, I understand some people have their opinions about what do you call it? Um, about the various laws involving workplaces and stuff like that. And I agree. There's sometimes that it's like who wrote this, but then other times it's like, oh, thank you for following. Was it Mary Alexa? Thank you so much. Is would be a great idea to come with a solution. Would like to add me on Discord. Um, Possibly. I don't use Discord all that much. I'll look into it. If I decide to, I'll send you a message or something like that. But I don't really use Discord very much. In fact, I really only use it for what do you call it? I really only use it for engaging with certain channels because it's the only community that they have. I mean, I can always send it to you. I was actually putting in work on making a Discord channel for my channels, but I haven't put any more work other than making it. Um, just because I don't really like Discord all that much, and I don't necessarily get that much interaction to necessitate it yet. And I gotta test this, see if this is working. Oh wait, I don't have it set up on this section of my uh OBS. Well, that was stupid. Why did I do that? Whatever. Oh well. I forgot I was gonna set it up because I thought it'd be a fun thing to do. How can I do that? Oh, I need to set up my like follow and stuff like that because it's supposed to have the thing that pops up that says, "Oh yeah," or whatever. So give me just a second on that. Okay, let me see. Might have to fiddle around with my scenes somewhat. So it's gonna bounce around a bit. Let's see. Copy. Paste. Okay, let's try it again, shall we? Oh yeah, it's working. Watch him. He's gonna bounce. Ugh, off the sidewall. Off the sidewall. So yeah, I think that you can only. I'm not sure how to do the channel points and stuff to get them to work exactly right. Because I want to do the thing you earn the channel points and you can like do stuff, but I think you might actually have to be an affiliate or whatever they call it to even be able to do that, which is unfortunate. Because again, I don't want to be required. Well, one, I don't want to make money through this. This is just a hobby. Two, I don't want to be monetized in a way where I have to make the content they tell me to make. And I know they don't pop up and say, "Hey, you need to live stream Among Us." I know they don't do that. But it's a case of if I say, "Well, that fucking sucks," and they're like, "Hey, you can't say that. That's a bad word." And I'm like, "Eat me. That's a bad word too. How about that?" Just like with my memes and stuff on YouTube, is that some of my memes are some of my memes and videos are a little bit more R rated than anything else, and YouTube definitely doesn't like that. And they're getting stricter all the time. So I don't want them to go, yeah, it's like, yeah, see this video that you posted in 2018? Well, it's a little racy. Unfortunately, we're gonna reduce audience engagement because we just want to be careful, we just don't want to people exposed to anything. And it's like, oh, shut up. I have been getting lucky lately, though. Apparently, YouTube actually has been recommending my videos, and it's like, really? For once in a million years? I wonder what brought this on. It really seems random because I remember at the end of last year they did the same thing with a bunch of my Twin Peaks videos. They just started being like, here's his videos. So I really don't know what their standard is for deciding to randomly show my videos. They just kind of do it randomly, I guess. Actually, there's probably a logic to it, and I just don't know what it is. But it's probably something insane and complex. I did make a video that got really popular, a video about Columbo. So I was like, well, that means I need to make more Columbo content, you know, because I don't necessarily want to appeal to the algorithm in the sense that, oh yeah, I got to get a million views, but if something does do well and it's something I actually want to make, I'll make it. Because again, a lot of my stuff is based on what I want to make at that particular time, and I have a lot of random ideas that I need to implement. Because again, I'm always on the lookout for memes and other stuff. I've got another Twin Peaks meme I've got to make. I wonder if I should do a video. Yeah, I should do that. I should do a video about I could do a stream where I stream making making memes, doing video editing and stuff like that. I think that'd be a cool idea. It actually give me some reason to like sort of like roll with it, instead of just doing a little here, a little there. Because I've honestly got a backlog of memes. I actually have a little black book. By the way, if you can read my shirt, it's a funny one I found at a Goodwill. It says, I live at the corner of Kiss My Ass Avenue and No Friggin' Way. I think it's cute and funny, so as you can see, here's my little black book of memes. So, I've got all these ideas. Anytime I try to write them down in these anytime I have an idea, if I don't text it to myself or something. Like on Phantasmagoria 2, there's the scene where Curtis is watching the computer screen and crying. That is a ripe for editing because you can pretty much put anything in there. Like you can put a scene from, like you could put the ending scene from Bambi, or not the ending scene, but the scene where like Bambi's mother gets shot, and then it cuts to Curtis and he's crying at his computer and stuff like that. It's a funny idea. And so I have ideas like you could easily do where he's watching something like End of Evangelion. When I watched the movie The Women, I made two videos about it, particularly because there's that one scene which made a great video where the woman talks about laying out on the bed like a swastika, and it's like holy crap, you can tell this movie was made in 1939 because they could say stuff like that, and it wouldn't be like seen as insensitive or whatever. I have an idea about uh, another combination JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Twin Peaks meme. And just other various ideas. Huh. Forgot I did that. I've got the one where it's like Jotaro from when he's going against Darby the Elder, and he doesn't look at his cards. It's just like that scene in the last Futurama movie, was it in the Wild Green Yonder or whatever? And Bender goes, "Read 'em and weep and tell me what they are," because that's that exact scene. Hmm. Oh yeah, that's another one I gotta do. And of course, I scribble on here, so some of this I actually have to sit there and think about to remember what the hell I meant when I wrote that down. That's part of the problem with trying to write super quick notes. But it's good because again, it gives me a lot of content I can make in the future. So if I want to keep my content regular, I can say, huh, well, that's an idea. And then, sit there and, sit down and make it. Some of them are a lot more involved. And that's part of the reason why I either haven't continued them or I haven't implemented them because it's like, yeah, this is going to take a while. And that's the thing, even a relatively simple meme can take a long time because of things like masking, motion, and then just various aspects of video editing that can sometimes make it take a very long while to make a fairly simple meme. That's part of why some of the ones I've done are pretty simple. Is because there are ideas that aren't that complex. Someone may call it lazy, but it's not really about being lazy. It's just, it depends on what I have the energy and the motivation and passion for. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is what I was gonna do. I need to count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I always have to triple check my counts because I will be off if I don't pay attention. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cool. Okay, so I'm not anywhere near it. There's actually one a meme I'd like to redo, because now I've got it's a cheap capture card, but it does capture Switch video at a much higher quality. And that's the biggest problem with making any Splatoon videos is that recording it on the Switch itself is absolute garbage. It's going to be of a terrible, terrible quality. Uh, and that's the biggest thing that gets me about the video. I think that the video is practically perfect. It's just the quality of the video is so bad. Come on. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, I always have to double check my counts every time. Because if I don't, I will miss it. It is hot as hell in here. God. Sweating my ass off. I'm gonna turn on the air. Alright, let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. I'll be right back. There we go, I'm back. Hey. I've also got another big editing project that I'm going to be doing. I don't think I'm going to do this on my main channel. I think I'm actually going to make a secondary channel for it. Where I'm going to be having something that's going to be live streamed like 24 hours on like the secondary channel. So, but it's going to take a lot of work because it's going to be 24 hours of this content. So it's going to take a lot of time to do all the editing necessary. and to get the footage for it because 24 hours is a lot. Hell, making the video alone is going to take decades and decades. Maybe not decades, but it's something I want to try to do before the end of the year. Because I don't think it's something, because it appeals to me and it's nothing that actually that's on YouTube. And I think that 24 hours where it's all 24 hours is where nothing's unique. But like I said, it's going to take a very long time to get the footage. I mean, I think so far I've probably only got an hour or two worth of footage. Maybe not even that. Because I mean, if because hell, some of them because it's a bunch of little bitty things put together. So if you think about it, um, I don't know. Okay, well, I've got to be right back. I have to use the restroom, so I'm going to kick my stand again. Try to find a way to make that work. So I'll be right back. Ah, I fell down. Very nice. Let me see what's going on. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So something I wanted to show Because as a lot of people know, I'm into spiders because I keep them. Well, my oldest one, my curly hair Talia, she actually molted. Look at that. Keep the reflection off of it. It's hard to tell. Come on, focus. Yeah, look at that. See, that's the bottom side. You can see the fangs and everything. See? Isn't that really cool? Yep, because they shed their exoskeleton just completely. You know, kind of like how snakes shed their skin, but because they're because they have an exoskeleton, it basically just looks like a completely. It looks like a dead one, basically, because you just have an empty skin. So I think she's been preparing to molt for a while, and I guess it finally took over, which is cool. Cool. I know she'd been kind of like a little weird about eating, which they sometimes get when they're in what they call pre-molt. They often act weird and things like that, just because they're like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to molt. Leave me alone." Okie dokie. Back to it. Okay, so back to this. Maybe I should just move one of my lights. I could just put this other ring light around my neck. Actually, that'd probably be a catastrophe. Like I would forget I have it on and then accidentally yank my entire setup across the room. I would like to be able to find a way to do this from my couch. The problem is accessing the keyboard and stuff like that. So if I wanted to type anything in or access the features, I'd have to just get up when I do it. I do have a thing that allows me to use my keyboard and mouse from far away, but then again, I might not be able to see exactly what's going on the screen from that far away. And it's just because these chairs sometimes negatively affect my sciatica. I don't like that all too much. It's a little painful, to say the least. Hmm. Let's do another one of these, shall we? Eh. See if I can actually make it. Yesterday I did like 6 different drops on Kaz's stream, and I never landed any of them. I got close, but then I had one where Jenny straight up bumped me to where I didn't go in, and I was like, "Oh, I hate you so much. How dare you? How dare you?" All I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do. I'm getting rid of this thing. Forget it. Forget that thing. It's too unwieldy. Let's see. What if I do... Wait. What if I do this? Does this help? Actually, it really does. I could actually unplug this. By putting it directly on the thing, I can actually... Actually, yeah, that really helps. Okay. See, it's a little bit of a process, right? To try to figure out exactly how to do this in a way that works for everybody. Particularly me, because I'm the most important person in the world. How's that look? Is that looking good? Cool. Huh. I'm just trying to think. Cause I essentially just have it laid on my my little tripod here, which works. But I wonder if there's a way. Hmm. I mean, I know my ring light has it where we can put a phone in it, but it also has a terrible tripod, so I don't want to do that. My other ring light is just a light. Hmm. Just think about ways I could change my setup. This is working though. I can actually freaking see. Like it doesn't look so dark on the camera, but this room actually is kind of dark. I like super bright inside lights. And it's just the way this fan is, these lights can't get very bright at all. So yeah, if anybody is interested in like me setting up, like me actually like going full up and setting up a Discord, let me know, or let me know any ideas that you might think would be a good one. Because like I don't want to be like one of those Discord channels that have like 400 different, like they have like 400 different channels that you can go to, because it ends up becoming a huge mess where you have a one channel that no one's posted in since 2018, which begs the question as to why it's still there. But also, you don't want everything to be done through like one or two channels, because then it just becomes a mess. So like I figure I could have one for making memes, one for video, one for live streaming video games, one for, edits, cross stitching, things like that. Because there's also other things I'm thinking about adjusting in my life. Like I've been doing some Dungeon Dice Monster stuff, which that's another video that I have to edit. But to be honest, I feel a little ambivalent towards it. It's just because I did get to play a game of it, but then again, at the same time, like the game was super, super long, and I don't feel, I don't know. I guess, actually getting to play it with somebody affected my attitude about it. Or maybe it's just because I have too many hobbies as it is. Like cross stitching is good because it takes a long time and it doesn't cost much, and you get really cool art with it. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, let's see. I can join in. Here I come. Wee. Very nice. I'm still working on trying to like add stuff. Oh yeah, that's perfectly fine. Like you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, I can't blame you for that at all. And I also tell people is, life doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going. And sometimes you have stuff that comes up too. Because like being it's hard to, I don't like to say necessarily friends, but I've made a lot of acquaintances through group, you know, and it can be difficult sometimes for people to have the social energy to I guess talk or respond or anything like that, right? And sometimes you get folks that'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just blah blah," and I said, "Trust me, you don't have any obligation or a time limit. Whenever you feel up for it, I'm here. now, and I'll tell them, say, I do like talking to you, and I would like to talk to you, whenever you're able to. Absolutely. But don't feel stressed or obligated to try to talk with me. Because again, I've had people that I've had their phone number, and then we had like long periods where we just didn't talk, and then it's still like, hey, how you doing? Trying to, because again, I understand sometimes I get like that where I'm like just a hermit, where I'm like I don't feel like talking to anybody ever. Because like, of course, I watch a lot of Kaz's streams while I'm at work, because she streams while I'm at work. But my work is often slow enough to where I can interact. Sometimes I don't because I have work, and other times I don't because I just simply don't feel like it. Oh yeah, trust me, I understand. I completely understand that. Wait, what's it doing? Why is it loading in the screen? What are you doing? Why are you loading? Let me double check on Twitch instead of restream. I'm not supposed to. According to Twitch, you're not supposed to do this, but they can bite me. I do what I want. Or they can just ban me. Yeah, it looks fine on here. It must be restream acting up. Whatever. Yeah, it's like sometimes, you got stuff to do, and sometimes I'm just like, ugh. Like, I'll actually, what I do try to do is that if I'm watching someone stream, once I get to the end of it, and I try to always make sure to thank them for streaming and everything like that. I had one person the other day saying, "Yeah, you just pop up randomly and be like, thanks for the stream." I'm like, "Yeah," because it's like, "Oh yeah, it's because I might be watching but just not saying anything." I know lurking, but oh yeah, oh yeah, I get the same way where might get a customer call, and I'm gonna be like on that call for 10 minutes because they've got a 20-year-old vehicle they're trying to find a weird part for. And again, I'm going to do my full job and try to help them as best I can, because it's not always easy. Um, or just other various things that I have to do. It's just my job is also really slow because I work for an obscure brand, not obscure. I work for an uncommon brand, to say the least. So I also get a lot of, I mean, I'm sure every brand has people with older vehicles, but the difference is there's a lot of stuff that aftermarket parts companies don't carry because they're like, who cares? They're not going to make money off of it. So I get calls, and I actually got one guy with like a 1992 vehicle, and he calls me multiple times because he's trying to get an engine for it, and he's trying to get all this information. I help him as best I can, but it's super difficult. Um, because all I can do is give him some basic information. Because you're not going to be able to get an engine for this car, not from us, no way. He's going to have to get it used unless he finds a shop that's willing to work on older vehicles, like uh work on older Japanese vehicles that would be willing to rebuild it if he can find the parts to rebuild it. See, that's part of the downside of a lot of things, with engineering. A lot of it, of course, is changing designs, but there's also a lot of like legal stuff that they have to go to. Oh no, definitely not. Of course, what's interesting is because a Yugo is basically just a poorly built Fiat, which is terrible. I almost had a chance to get one for like 300 bucks around here. It was literally just missing a windshield, but I also wasn't in the place to buy a random goofy car. I would love to have one though, because it's basically like a Fiat 124, I think. Just again poorly built because it was built in Yugoslavia. The Soviet bloc countries were way better at building guns than they were cars, that's for sure. Because the Yugo SKS is great, but the freaking Yugo vehicles were terrible. But they're nah. I definitely don't work for Fiat. Oh no. In fact, I don't even think there's a Fiat dealer around me. That's part of the problem. I live in the deep south. along with because I know Cass also lives in the deep south, but she lives in a different portion of it, I believe. I'm trying to remember. She lives in a completely different portion. I live in the part where nobody lives, nobody cares. So there's not a lot of stuff around me. So that's also a part of the problem is I get calls from like places that are way far out. Oh yeah, awesome. So yeah, you kind of know how it is in some places where there's just nothing there. And so when you have like a somewhat uncommon or a pretty uncommon brand, oh I see. You might live in one of the more populated areas. Like the big cities where I live, because I live in essentially the big city part, but it's so. Oh, you're in Alabama? Oh, I'm in. Actually, I'm pretty open about this. That I live in Mississippi. I talk about it every once in a while. In fact, I made a post about Jackson because that's where I live. Actually, on my YouTube channel because one of the pipes on a road busted and it literally started spewing through the concrete. Oh, awesome. So yeah, you don't live far away from me at all. Even Jackson, which is the capital city, and it's a it's a city, it's urban, right? There's still nobody here. You can walk through downtown at 2 not 2 a.m., but you can walk through downtown at like the busiest times, and you'll maybe encounter two or three people. That's the biggest thing. Is like even though Jackson is kind of does have kind of a high crime rate, still it's still not very likely for you to be a victim of anything because there's just nobody here. You're not going to get mugged because you're not going to encounter anybody who would mug you. Unfortunate, no, it's not unfortunately. The downside to that is that there's nobody here, so there's also not a lot of different businesses and stuff. There's some small businesses, which is really awesome because I love supporting small businesses. But the downside to that is there's nothing like. Actually, we went to Texas to pick up this imported vehicle for Rose for her job. Is a it's a right hand drive. Oh yeah, yeah. That's the yeah that's the thing is like we're just it's just Mississippi is just nothing here. Like even Alabama has stuff like that Space Center. You guys got Talladega. You know, you guys have a lot more stuff than we do. We have nothing. Which the only thing that they care about here is college football. But I'm surprised we don't have a NASCAR track. We don't have a major league football team. We don't have anything. It's crazy. It's not crazy. It's just there's nothing here. And to be honest, most of the people that live in the state, a lot of the younger people tend to leave. Um, it's mostly like older people and stuff like that that just kind of stay here. Now, the biggest things that we got were when we started getting the plants and stuff that came here, Nissan and Toyota and all that, which I know you guys have gotten a few of those too, which is definitely good to have like industry and stuff come back. That's true. We do have Biloxi. Biloxi's got some neat stuff, but I don't go there very often because it's still pretty much the same distance as Mobile, you know. And then even with that, it's like, oh, yep. Actually, I think that your plant built my Honda Pilot because I've got a 2011, and I'm pretty sure it was built in Alabama. We have the Toyota plant that builds the Highlanders, and the Nissan plant that I believe builds the Armadas. And I think we've got a Mercedes plant somewhere too now, which is good because I'm like, yes, that's exactly what we need. We need industry jobs coming here, you know. And there are a lot of people, like you get a lot of folks that around here that work for Nissan. Oh, nice. And it's good, because that's part of like I like to tell people part of what can be depressing is how a lot of stuff has been outsourced. Um, back like in South Jackson here, there used to be a Mississippi, not Mississippi. There used to be a Coca-Cola bottling plant. They actually had like an R2D2 that was like a Coke can basically. It was super cool, right? Um, because I remember visiting it when I was very very young. Of course, now you look at it, now you drive by it, and it's just a worn out, decrepit building that nobody's touched for 2 decades. It's really sad. So a lot of the people in the state. especially in places like Jackson, have to work terrible jobs like McDonald's and stuff like that, where you don't learn any skills. You're going to get paid garbage. You're going to get treated like crap by a 19-year-old, by a 19-year-old manager who thinks they're more important than they actually are. Versus like a real job where you actually have to learn like skills and stuff like that that would help you in the real world, or get other jobs and things like that. Learning how to like press buttons on a weird little fry machine doesn't teach you any skill. In fact, the biggest skill you learn from McDonald's, I like to say, is how to deal with annoying customers. You have to have a lot of patience. Good lord. It's an Some things are improving for sure, but then we have a lot of other issues because you probably heard about our water problems. We had like massive water issues where the water was completely undrinkable for months because we had some issues where, yeah, it's I've never worked. Wait, have I? I can't remember. I've worked in pizza, and that's the limit I want to go. I don't ever want to have to like work for McDonald's, but I shouldn't have I shouldn't have to worry about it. But McDonald's and stuff like that, I don't recommend it for anybody. I'm like, please, for the love of God, try to find something else because all it's going to do is destroy your soul. When I worked for pizza, at least yeah. Oh, yeah, see, I did the same thing. I did it for quite a while, too. It's a great way to make money if you have a car that can handle it. But some places like Domino's and stuff have gone crazy. Like they want you to have two different apps on your phone. You they GPS tracker, one of the apps actually listens in while you're driving to make sure that you're not uh, blasting the radio, that you're talking on the phone. It also watches you, make sure you're not texting and all that kind of stuff, which is understandable because they don't want to get sued because their idiot driver, ran into a pedestrian because they were too busy playing Candy Crush or whatever. But also at the same time, it's like, you know, all right, guys, I don't trust any of you to have that kind of access to my phone. Like, really, I just want to get in my car and go take the pizza to the customer. I don't want to have to log into 14 apps and then do all this other stuff. Or you get mad because I went 5 miles over the speed limit. Because actually, Domino's, they do that. They also track like how fast you go and things like that, and they give you point. If the better you drive, they give you more point. They give you merits. If you drive what they consider bad, they give you demerits. And if you get so many demerits, you actually get fired. It's like, what? Come on. That's why the last time I delivered pizza, I did it for Papa John's, and they did it more old school, where they're like, "Oh yeah, oh that'll be awesome, heck yeah." It's always good when you have a company that's willing to give you time that you need, even if you're technically fired or laid off, yeah, or whatever the case. If they're willing to like, do that for you. Heck, the company I'm working for is part of an autoplex, and part of the reason I went back working with them because I kind of liked working for the company in general. It's a decent company. It's just the way the dealership's been now is a little weird because we lost the guy that was the GM of the dealer, and I really like this guy because something. Oh heck yeah, you were doing it real old school, like back when you guys had to worry about Domino's was doing that stupid 30 minutes or less crap. And you know what's funny about that is that so many places reference that, like so many media and other things, but it's like, guys, they stopped doing that in like 92 or something because so many people were getting hurt. Yeah, you had to do it with the map. I did it as early as '04. So, and also I never really had money. So I had to use a paper map, a set of paper maps, to the point that because some of the places I delivered had new neighborhoods, I actually had to draw in my own little map and everything of like this new subdivision and stuff so that I could actually know where the hell I was going. And the ironic part is I am a terrible navigator. I have no sense of direction whatsoever. So it's ironic I was working in pizza delivery. So I had to kind of brute force it. But I'm like, yeah, to be honest, GPS annoys the crap out of me anyway. Because one, they often have bad routes. Like there's one street in my in one of in the cities near me that is completely closed and it's been closed for a long time. And every time it's tried to route me through it, I've tried to report it, but they still won't fix it. It's like, guys, this road's been closed. It's been closed so long that the road is overgrown with plants. So you know it's had to been closed for quite a while at least, right? So it doesn't even look like there was a road there anymore. The only way you can tell is where the curb kind of curves into it. That's the only way you know. But then again, there's a lot of places where a curb curves in, and it's literally just a place where it's literally just an empty lot. So you can't even tell it used to be a road. But no, they won't fix it. That's part of why I hate Google Maps, because it's like, come on, guys, like please fix this so you stop trying to route me this way. And again, it's because of my sense of direction. I do have to use maps or GPS every time I go somewhere because I get easily lost, you know. But sometimes it would be like, yeah, just give me a map instead because I get annoyed with all the and 300 feet turn left and all that. It like it's I wouldn't say negative ASMR, but there's something about it that ooh, it's what do you call it? I think, well, yeah, in general, I feel like I have echolalia. Some sounds to me are as bad as nails on a chalkboard. And for some reason, the way that thing talks, it's not even like the AI or the computer talking thing that's the problem. It's just something about the way it does it. Like, I feel maybe it's the timing of it, maybe it's the way it interrupts. I don't know. But I also have negative experiences with driving. Like, one thing I couldn't stand about my ex-wife is, was it my ex-wife? No. Well, I think she did this sometimes too, but I had other people that, especially one of my friends who I've used to drive. Well, one of my I guess I'd say former friends, whatever. I would drive with them, and they would literally go like I'm trying to figure out where to go, and I would pass the thing, and they're like, "You could have turned left there. You could have said something when it was physically possible." Oh, here, let me rewind time. What the hell? But then again, I got other people that are backseat and passenger drivers, and I'm like, don't do that. Because I always like to go the simplest paths, like to a friend's house. Yeah, that's so frustrating, especially when you have like lanes that you can't cross over easily. You have to like find the crossover, or you try to go into a parking lot, and there's not really an easy way to turn around. That's so frustrating. It's like, can we please? Can we please just go to the place? Nope, it's got to be you got to go all the way around the world. Because again, the downside about where I live is that uh, there's a lot of everything's a lot simplified. Like, oh, there's one road that you can take, or there's this other road that goes like this, that goes at an angle. You can take either of these roads to get there, but that's it. And if you miss a turn, you're going to be driving for 10 minutes. Oh, I see. Yep. Because heck, I had to drive north. I had to drive to the north the other day, and I kept missing the turns because just like with your thing, the audio thing was off. And so by the time I realized I missed the turns, I was like, oh crap. Because I also don't get a great signal up there. That's another downside. We don't have 5G in Jackson. With who do I have? Verizon, I think. We don't have 5G. And where I work, because the department I work in, I guess it's the building or something, I get no signal. I have to use Wi-Fi to do any texting or anything with my phone. I can't even send pictures. Like, it won't send through because of all that. Looks like Kaz is on. So, let's see. How long have I been streaming? I've been streaming 2 hours. I think I'm still going to do this for a little while, but then I'll probably just stop so I can just take a break. Yeah, yeah. And then you can see the sign for the. Yeah, I know it's frustrating. God, driving can be really frustrating. My favorite time to drive is at night. Like I like driving at night. When it's dark, everything's quiet. There's no drivers on the road, and then you just driving around at night, listening to music. That was my favorite thing about delivering pizza, was the fact that I could just do that. What? Uh-oh. I messed this up. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's see. Hold on. Oh my God. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Oh no. I messed this up. Holy crap. Okay, how many is it? Okay, hold on. One, two, three, four, five, six. All right. Three, four, five, six. Okay, so I can redo it on the end here. If anyone can tell how this is off center, then I am ashamed. I am a failure as a father and a son. Oh my God. I can't believe I did that. Again, counting, you see. What I should do is I should put on my headphones because I don't think I have. Do I have desktop audio active? I shouldn't, because then I could actually listen to hers while I do this. So yeah, take that everybody. Although that does go against mindfulness, right? Because I talk a lot about mindfulness. That goes actually against it, because instead of being mindful of what I'm doing here, I'd instead be doing something else at the same time, which means my attention will be divided. But I also want to watch casts, so. But I do want to get to a good stopping point. But again, I wasn't going to do it for very long either, just because, again, I've got stuff I'm going to be doing around 1 to 2, and I want to make sure that I'm ready for that. Plus, this is just to get back into it so that I can, like, sort of make a plan to do it somewhat regularly. There we go. Let me see. Do I got... The biggest problem with YouTube, though, is that it can be hard to find streamers. Again, they'll want you to watch things that are live that have 20,000 people watching, but trying to find small time YouTubers and streamers is difficult. I found some ones I really like too, but it took work to find them. And I'm like, why? I think YouTube's got it in their head, their little algorithm, to figure out that I like watching small timers. So it's started to recommend me some, but it still wants to be like, hey, here's this 3 million video about somebody uh, running over their iPhone 16 or whatever. And it's like, no, don't recommend that crap to me. I don't care. They make it frustrating. But I think that using my cell phone as a camera has been going really well. I haven't really had any problems, and it's easy to get it to focus. And I think it looks pretty good, so. Also, this lighting setup is now working. I can do this way faster and more accurately. I think what I'm gonna... Oh, I didn't get much done today. Hmm. That's okay, though. Again, I tell people cross stitch is a journey. Sometimes you get a lot done, sometimes you don't. It's just an exercise. I was actually considering playing Palia, because it might be fun. It might give me something to do, because I've also been playing Payday 3, but to be honest, it's been extremely disappointing to me. I'm not having as much fun as I did with Payday 2. Like with Payday 2, I hit the ground running on having fun. The game's crazy. And I think a lot of people like certain aspects of Payday 3 better, which is perfectly fine, but I just feel super disappointed with it. I guess it was probably good that I de-threaded that C because it was probably in the wrong position. I'm glad this one wasn't because that would have been frustrating. But that's kind of the thing. I often have issues where I miscount and things like that. So you have very complex ones like that mandala spider I did. I got to the point where I was making so many mistakes on where I was stitching that I had to just stop and wait, was that one? No. I did make a lot of mistakes on that one, but it ultimately came out fine. It was the first one I did of the Deagle, the Desert Eagle one, where not only were the colors a little off, so I didn't really like it that much, but I made so many mistakes that it was pretty much impossible to fix and make it look good. So I pretty much just trashed it and started a completely new one. Even redoing the colors and everything. And see, this thing that I'm using here, in case anybody is curious, is a Paris Hilton French press. Because Rose likes a lot of Paris Hilton stuff because it's all very cute. Let me try to see if I can get it in frame without like spilling everything. See, it's got all these little hearts. It's got the pink color and everything like that. She's got a really nice style with a lot of stuff. And it's not super expensive. And to be honest, it's way better than using a crappy coffee machine or a Keurig or ow. As I went to scratch myself, I just jammed myself with a needle. At least it went into my hand instead of anywhere else. Good Lord, can you imagine that? So I'm actually thinking about getting a French press for work because I have a coffee machine, but eh, it's a cheap one, and I'm just like, maybe I'll just get a French press because then the only downside would be I would then need like an electric kettle. Get an electric kettle, get the French press, and just start having coffee like that. I've got some really good stuff. There's this New Orleans brand, or that's what they call themselves, New Orleans, and they have like a chocolate beignet coffee that tastes absolutely amazing. Which I drink coffee for GI issues, because it was suggested to me at one point. They're like, "Well, why don't you just try drinking black coffee?" You know, and I'm like, "Okay," which I don't. To be honest, I don't like black coffee. I'd rather it like with cream, with like I'd rather it like a cafe au lait with like milk and stuff like that. But going with black coffee, it's pretty much one of the ways that I've been able to manage my GI issues very well with it. Like all the medicines and other stuff that they try to give me doesn't work or makes it worse. Like and it's like and I went so much back and forth with them when I was like, guys, if I take this medicine, not only does it not really help, but it also makes me like super gassy and I can't sit at work having my office because I'm in a essentially an office smelling like I've crapped myself because I can't get rid of the flatulence this stuff gives me. And they're like, uh and that's kind of how they kept responding was just with a and they're like, well, just keep trying this or try this or try this. And they made me and finally one guy was like, well, how about we just stop all the medicines and just drink some black coffee? And then only take medicines if you're like really in a bad way. And I was like, okay. And then boom, it actually worked really well. I'm like, Jesus. And that's of course what one of my friends also said. They said, yeah, that's what they do. They don't take any medicines. They just drink black coffee. And I'm like, cool. Sounds like a plan. And again, I'm not like anti-doctor and or any medicine or anything like that, but I do think that there's a lot of tendencies to focus on like a medicinal, like a shit, on a medicinal solution over a lifestyle solution. Because I think part of the problem is being more sedentary. Because again, I have to sit at my office and do 2,000 POs in a day, right? Not a day. Do like 2,000 POs in a month, right? I'm just paperwork, 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 and it's in addition to everything else. So I do have a lot of times where I'm sitting down. and I think that is part of it. I did get an inversion table too, which seems to help. It doesn't make anything worse, so that's at least a positive. Because I think also the sciatica that I've developed is probably affecting it too. One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay. So I do have to do stretches and other stuff like that. I'm actually thinking about getting a new chair because I think that some of these chairs and stuff like that aren't all that great uh, for your back and legs and things like that. I thought it was a joke, the whole thing about standing desks and all that, but now that I've had more of a job where I have to sit down a lot, it seems like that probably is actually that sitting for a long time really is actually kind of bad. I've heard about people having problems with blood clots and stuff like that, and I haven't had any of that, but my sciatica got super bad. I just also I'm not used to sitting like with my like legs planted on the ground and stuff like that. I prefer to cross my legs a lot. And I'm trying to slowly build myself with a habit of doing it. Because when I cross them very tightly. And it's hard to get out of that habit. I think it's various things like that because I also have a little bit of plantar fasciitis, but I found that like wearing those like things that are made for it actually make it worse. So I still have like a little bit of pain in my heel and all that, but changing it to just like really soft like memory foam inserts has helped way more. I know a lot of medical stuff is kind of like trying to feel your way around the solution because there's nothing like super specific for everybody, but it's also really frustrating because it's like surely somebody has an idea of you know of what it can be because with GI issues there's also a lot of case of diagnosis by exclusion, I think it's called, which to be critical of the medical establishment, I guess you could say, I find that to be kind of a weird way to do things, where you say, well, we're going to diagnose it as this because we've ruled out so many things. And it's like, well, I've done mechanic work. Oh yeah, I kind of have like sometimes I'll sit with the sort of cross leg, not cross leg, but like the lotus style. I don't want to call it that other way because um I think well, I don't like to use the term Indian when referring to Native Americans. Um Especially because it's confusing because there are actual Indian people. But I think it's also called lotus style, where you do that. I also sometimes have a tendency to sit almost side saddle. I tend to do weird things with my legs a lot, and it's probably part of the contributing factor to this. Yeah, but I do similar with that, and I'm trying to train myself out of doing it. Just like standing weird. It's not necessarily, and it's also saying the thing is not necessarily about being PC. It's because it's confusing. I hate any kind of language that is confusing because I like a lot more plain language. Again, I'm on the autism spectrum, and sometimes people will. I don't know. I can get really. I don't know. Can't get my words out right now. Like, well, I'm trying to figure out a lot of stuff about this Payday 3. I see a lot of people that say a lot of things about it, and I'm trying to understand exactly what I'm doing wrong, and I'm just having trouble understanding it because I interpret things one way or the other, and then I ask a lot of questions. I don't like to definitively say one thing or the other. I like to ask people a lot of questions, but also it's one of the reasons why I need to get off Reddit. I spend sometimes I spend a little too much time on there because people get really insane and upset about various things. And it's like, come on, guys. I just like to have an outlet for expressing my opinions and things like that, or sometimes frustrations and other things. And people can get really upset about certain things. Like I also am like on the firearm subreddits. Um, and if you're like, oh, I don't think that the 1911 is obsolete. Like it's old, sure, but it's still a solid design. And then people are like, it's obsolete, blah blah blah. And then you're like, why are we arguing about this? Because they're like, here, let me list these 1,400 reasons. And you're like, the Gish Gallop is really bad because it's a lot easier to do over the internet than in person. It's Reddit. It's literally like dealing with an army of Ben Shapiro style guys where you're like, you need to dial it back a bit and like and just parse it down just a little, truncate your point just a teensy bit. And that's me saying this. I'm really bad at being concise. Like, oh boy. Oh, that's one thing about talking. Like, one of the services that we have to use for my work is a an automatic replenishing service. I forget what they call it. There's services that allow you to automatically replenish parts without you having to do it yourself. And I've had problems with it in the past. And then so I talked to one of the guys, one of the like lead guys on it, and then and of course they always go like, "Can we talk about this on the phone?" And I'm like, "I'd rather not because on the phone it's easy to get railroaded and to have trouble expressing my exact thoughts or in a way that might make sense to you." And I was like, this is the thing. And I was like, "Look, this is the things that I'm having to deal with." And then I wrote him an email that was 2,500 words. And I put in a word checker. I counted. Yeah, he didn't respond to that email, which is understandable. But I was like, see, like this is, and I tell him, like, this is what goes through my head as I do this kind of stuff. Is all this. I tried to be as clear as I could, without making it look like it was crazy rambling. But it's like, yeah, this is the reason why I have problem with the way the system is. I'm not expecting you to bend over backwards and automatically change the system, but I'm annoyed because the company, not the company that owns the dealership, but the brand that we're licensed to, they don't necessarily require us to use it, but if you don't use it, there's a lot of disadvantages to not using it. And the disadvantages to using it, they don't care about because it's essentially we have to do more work. Again, it's the part of the problem with the parts replenishment systems is that they're basically made to make the brand more money because you're buying more parts from them. Instead of having to worry about somebody. Like, I understand the idea that they don't want to lose sales because the part's not in stock. But it's like, yeah, but we're also in a place where we don't get that many customers that are willing to buy the factory parts because they cost so much. Dude, the wheel covers, the little hubcaps on these things are well over $100. I get customers all the time. They're like, holy crap, those are expensive. I'm like, yeah, what a lot of our customers do is go to an aftermarket parts store and buy a set for half that price. Like for us, one costs twice as much as a set. So I don't blame the customers at all. I'm like, trust me, I harbor zero ill will towards you not being willing to, you know, lose your entire budget because their terribly designed hubcaps fell off. I try to help them as much as I can while trying to while trying to reasonably make my money. It's that good balance, you have to balance, you know, making money with also helping people. It's like I want to keep my job and I want to make some money, but I also don't want to do it unethically. Definitely not illegally. And if it's a customer that doesn't want to pay that much for a hubcap anyway, I can't blame them. I don't want to force them into buying something they don't want to buy. I tell them, say, well, unfortunately, this is the cost. Um, this is the best we can do on it. But here's an alternate solution. Hell, I'll give them a part number in a heartbeat. I'll say, if you can find one cheaper on eBay, go for it. Because if it matches that part number, it's the same part. Because some dealerships around here don't give part numbers to counter customers, which somewhat makes sense, but I also think it's kind of a kind of a douchebag thing because it's not like they can't get the part number. They can find the part number, that's a fact. They just would have to do things like go to an online catalog or something, of which there are many, especially for common brands. See what Cass is up to. Is this guy still streaming? Actually, sometimes I do have like multiple people there streaming all at the same time, and I'm like, crap. Because I want to, help them out, and I want to watch them. Um, but also, it's also a case of, but I have these other ones I want to watch, so I often like put in the background, and like I think Cass said as long as the volume's above 10%, it still counts as a viewer. I think. So I try to make sure to do that so that they know what's going on, or so that they know that I'm there. Here we go. Yeah. All right. Very nice. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the center spire and the C, and then I'll cut it off. Because then it'll be like 12, and then that'll give me about, if I decide to do my stuff at 1, at 1 o'clock, that'll give me plenty, that'll give me enough time to get ready, and if I decide to do it at 2, it'll give me plenty of time. Ah, great, it's all tangled. Well, shortcut. See, the thing is because I'm working on one other at the same time of this exact pattern. Because again, it's being made for, I'm making one for 3 different people. The problem will be, again, shipping one of them because Daniel, he lives in Israel. But again, I told him, I said, look, I will pay for the shipping to ship it to Israel. Don't worry about that. But rather than have me sing it to them individually, what I'll do is I'll probably ship all of it to Paul and then let him distribute it as necessary and just let him know, hey, look, I'll cover any of the shipping costs that you have to deal with. Because I know that shipping internationally is annoying. I mean, plus, I mean, hey, I gave one to Paul, but the rest of them are so important to the channel, they should get one too. I'm hoping I can get them done by like Thanksgiving or something like that. Which I know that seems like a long way away, but having to do 3 of them. And this one, this specific one, I only want to do on stream. Because the other one, I actually have made more progress of it because I do it more often. But this one shouldn't actually take too terribly long. I try not to go too crazy too because if I do it too much, then the next day my fingers would be a little sore. That repetitive stress injury. And I've got one huge project that I'm working on. I've got to figure out the colors for it because I it's based on an image, and I will say this: it is an NSFW one, but it's something I found through a pixel art page, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool, you know. So it's a little bit. So it's definitely something I don't think I could do on stream. And it's going to be pretty big because it's fairly high resolution, but I really like it, and I think it would make an awesome cross stitch. I had to do some editing on it though because some of it I didn't like, some aspects of it I didn't like, and I was like, here, let me change this a little bit to make it more to make it something that would probably be better for a cross stitch, and I'm gonna, you know, do that. I just have to continue on it, but I want to get to a point where all my other projects, where I'm not backlogging all my other projects to do that one. It's like it's gonna be. It's just it's pretty it's pretty in SFW. But I've seen a couple of people on the cross stitch subreddit that have done a few NSFW ones, and I'm like, it's really cool, you know. Artistic is artistic, you know. It's a difference between like straight up art art style, and I think that when done right, when done with like the right level of tastefulness. You know what? I completely forgot to post this on like Discord, on like some of the Discords and on my Facebook and shit like that. Damn it. See, that's what I'm talking about, is that I'm not necessarily used to this thing, so I don't necessarily know, like, oh, I need to make these announcements here and there. That's part of why I was thinking about doing the Discord thing, was so that I could just post an announcement there. That's fine. I don't have a problem with having a smaller number of people. That's fine. I know Zen Solip says he likes to come and watch this, which is awesome. But then again, I could also do it later today. But I definitely got my stuff set for what time I'm gonna do it. Uh, because of the people who are joining, their availability is a little bit wanting. So yeah, I've just got to figure out how I want to set up my little Discord and get people involved in it, especially because if I can get people, who can give me ideas of stuff they might like to see for things like my YouTube channel and all that, I would love that. Because again, some of my video ideas come from other people. I try to credit them. Like I had one guy on Facebook that suggested uh, a funny video idea, and I'm like, I got you, fam, and I made it. You know, so I love it if people have ideas, things they haven't seen that they like me to do. Like even if they don't get a whole bunch of views, hey, anything is anything. Anywhere where I can get inspiration to make content. Because again, I think the cross stitching streams are probably something I would do more likely than doing like a bunch of video game streams. Like maybe do some Payday 3 streaming if I can get the energy or will to play the game. um, or I mean, of course, I'm doing the Resident Evil thing, but that's also just because I'm trying to build. I want to ultimately play the newer games that have come out, and so I figured it's like, hey, that'd be a good series of things to do, a good way to make content. I'm just super glad about YouTube finally recommending my freaking videos. It's like, come on, guys. Because my Columbo one has done really well. It's went up, I think, to seventh place in my top viewed videos. it's not gonna become first anytime soon, that's for sure. Let me check my studio. But then it also recommends random videos of mine, like ones like, oh yeah, I always try to, if I, like, for example, I've had some people on some of the meme subreddits where they've, where they posted a meme and it gave me an idea, in which case always try to credit people for ideas. If I'm like, hey, again, I made one meme because I also go on the gun meme subreddit. I got to cover that up if I've got to readjust myself. That's the only downside about this cameras. I mean, you know, anyone who has the equipment knows that it can be kind of a thing. I mean, women they have, if they're, especially if they're well endowed, they have to deal with the things, adjusting them and having to tug on them every 20 minutes, especially if it's hot or they're sweaty. Oh yeah. But yeah, my Columbo video, it's got 5K views. Like, holy crap. And in terms of like top videos, it's gone up to fifth place. And remember, I just posted the seventh. All my other top videos are Twin Peaks videos from 2017 when the return was out, and then random ones like the Animal Crossing moving furniture sound, the tributes to some anime characters. Again, I also have a thing where if I'm looking for something on YouTube and I can't find it, I make it myself. So like I was trying to find that Animal Crossing moving furniture sound. I couldn't find one that was a clean cut of the sound effect, so I posted it myself. So now if anybody wants it, they can download it. They can download it, take that sound and use it for whatever memes they want or whatever they choose to do with it. So like again, and at the rate that it's going, it'll eventually be fourth place. It'll take a while for it to go over the Lori tribute, but still, my top three are Twin Peaks memes. One of them was 7,200 views, the other one with 19,000 views, and then my top one, Dale Gordon reacts to season three Audrey Horne, 35,000 views. So it's going to take a while for it to top that. But if it keeps at this rate, it will, and that's absolutely amazing. I'm flabbergasted that it's done so well because again, it was just me posting a random joke, what I considered a super subtle joke in Columbo that I don't think everybody noticed. Like, cause I didn't notice it till my second watch of it, and I was like, I don't know if that was intended to be a joke, but if it is, it's amazing. My head canon is that it was intended to be a joke. It was so much fun. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I want. People, it's blowing up. So if it keeps up at this rate, then it'll eventually be within my top three. So I'm like, well, that's probably a good excuse to post more Columbo content anyway. Because that's the thing I noticed is that Columbo is a big deal, but there's not a lot of content on YouTube about it. There's a decent amount of it, but a lot of it's like it's one of those things that kind of like I wouldn't say faded into obscurity. I think it's one of those things where people don't talk about it a whole lot, you know? Because I think it's gotten old enough at this point that it's in that, I don't know how to describe it. Like people don't talk about Cheers as much anymore, which I've not really seen much. I haven't really watched that show, but you know, Cheers did have a lot of influence on a lot of things. Um, but people just don't really talk about it that much. And I feel like people probably would. Um, in fact, you talk about Frasier, and a lot of more people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, Frasier," but then you talk about Cheers, and they're like me, where it's like, "Oh yeah, I've never seen it," which is fine because we're actually rewatching I Love Lucy. Not rewatching, we're watching I Love Lucy because I've only seen a few episodes, etc., etc. So Rose is like, "Hey, we should watch it," and I'm like, "Okay." And so we're now watching through it like all the way from the original pilot, and we're gonna watch it through everything. We're gonna watch every single one. It's pretty great, and it's given me some meme ideas too. And I'm like, see, I'm always looking for memes. I'm always looking for ideas of jokes and stuff to make. That's why I got my little black book, is so that I can write down ideas. I can keep track of ideas. Because I think the great thing about the concept of a meme is that you can often, I mean, because, an internet meme essentially is just a joke, you know, a joke, a parody, etc., etc. It's just, instead of being like SNL or Mad TV or Sesame Street or something, instead of having a huge production of it, you just do a little bit of editing here and there, and boom. It's like, look, as much as I would absolutely love to have some Muppets, I don't think I have the budget for that. I can't believe it's moved all the way up to fifth place. Holy crap. But I think because of that, and probably for other reasons, it's also recommending some of my older videos. Like one I've got of there was an article that had been posted about bees making a noise when they run into each other. And so I put it in with the Zoidberg whoop sound, and it's just a goofy little meme. And again, sometimes I just get random video ideas that are stupid. I say stupid, that's judgment. But I think they're kind of weird little ideas that don't really have much merit other than just being some goofy idea I had. And then I'll post those. And of course, they don't get many views, but that's okay because it's not necessarily about the views. It's about, expressing an idea. Hell, I've got one that I'm pretty sure all of the views are from me watching my own video because it just cracks me up so much. I remember one of my earlier memes that I made. I went to uh, went to Denny's. It was like super late at night, and this is when I had a laptop, and I took my laptop there. Hooked up to their Wi-Fi, or did I hook up to their Wi-Fi? I can't remember, but I just spent a couple of hours there drinking coffee and making a meme and sitting there laughing my ass off at the Denny's by myself over the stupid meme I had. Come a long way since then, though. But that's always good when you see like your recent videos and you're like last 28 days, because on the analytics you can look up that last 28 days, and to see like when because see, before it used to be my Dale Cooper Reacts, my biggest video was always at the top, right? And it was always mostly Twin Peaks stuff. But now that I get it, it's like most of the videos in the last 28 days are all fairly recently made videos. I made that video May of 22? What? Holy crap, I didn't realize that. Time flies. I thought it made it a lot more recent than that. I'm starting to have an existential crisis here. Oh, I think I made it shortly after we watched it. That's probably why. I love that movie, by the way. The Women, 1939. That movie's actually great. There's definitely some cultural differences, um, but it's really well written, and that's why I did that one video of it, because I thought there was one shot in that movie that was just so perfectly done. Like the acting in it, like it's like the perfect representation of somebody disassociating due to like extreme emotional distress. Like it's words can't describe how perfect it is, because anyone who's ever been in that kind of situation, not necessarily the specific situation of the character, but hardcore disassociating due to emotional distress, has has felt exactly like that, has had that exact thing happen. And because it's shot so perfectly, like it's, you know, it's indescribable. I just described it, so it's not. Or I'm just so good with words. I'm gonna do a drop. I just gotta figure out if there is a way, because I think there might be a way with Stream Elements to have it to where I can get channel points, but it might not. I'm still trying to figure a lot of stuff out. I've got a bunch of videos and stuff I've got to watch to learn more. I know my stream's not going to be as complex as like a lot of other streamers, but a little bit here and there I think is good because I've got some funny ideas of point related things to do. Because I think audience engagement with just various things is always good. Um, like that's one of the things I say about conversation with Curtis. I need to go in their Discord and talk about it and be like, hey guys, is it possible that you guys can give it? Because I've got like 34,000 channel points for watching them, and there's someone else that they've got 100 something thousand because they only watch them on Twitch. And I'm like, yeah, there's not really much you can do. They really don't give you anything to do. And I'm like, they should add some stuff. It doesn't have to be anything like crazy, but I think if they add in at least a few little bitty things, it could be fun. I know that some channels have that thing where if they're a VTuber, they have it to where like the little they can you like put in the points and it like throws stuff at your character, which is pretty fun. But another thing I've noticed on YouTube is that they also are really focused on shorts. Because like I made a random short. Again, I don't like shorts because I don't like TikTok. I think it's just kind of a. But I had an idea, so I threw it out there. And then I had another one, and both of them did really well. Like the first day they came out, they blew up. And I think part of that is also helping, like it's helping people engage with my channel. Um, so it's just a case of I'm also trying not to I'm trying to let not let the idea of trying to get more viewers and stuff encourage me to be. Oh yeah, there's some really funny ones like, they'll like you get one or two things and then suddenly you'll get like a massive load of things getting thrown at them. It's so funny. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, granted, I don't have my face cam on, or I've actually considered doing the VTuber thing, but um, I have to learn more about it to do it. I've got a good enough graphics card. I think I should be able to do it just fine. Because I don't mind not doing face cam all that much. I try to say that I don't know how many people would actually care that much to see my face. And I'm not really camera shy anymore. I used to be. Like seriously, when I did a playthrough, a long playthrough of Alien Isolation, and that whole playthrough, if you if you watch like my first video of it and go all the way to the last, you can see how much more comfortable I got with being on camera. I did some other videos before that and things like that. A lot of those I deleted because I didn't finish the series and I think they were kind of low quality anyway. But I do have some before that where I was on camera. And again, you can tell how camera shy I used to be and how just over time I got so much better at it. It took a lot of work though. Man, it took a lot of work. It just became about being comfortable, you know, the whole thing. So I don't mind doing face cam. I actually did it when I was when I guest starred on the Conversations with Curtis, um, which is why I had to buy a new. I actually had to buy a webcam because I didn't have one anymore. I like those guys. I want to do another thing with them because I found a new adventure game. It's called Cross Stitch Casper, and it's a game that the art style is done purely in cross stitch. And I'm like, that would be such a great game to do. Because I mean, it's an adventure game, so it's in their wheelhouse. It's cross stitch, and so that's something I enjoy. And I feel like it should be short enough to easily do on a single session. But their commission thing for doing a play with them is like $250. So I have to make sure that my budget and bonus allows it. Because luckily I get a bonus at work, which is yay. But I also have to actually make money to be able to get that bonus. And it's been this year has been so bad for making money. The economy and all that kind of stuff is really bad uh, for um, for car parts in general. Because a customer's not going to come and buy a $500 part and then spend $1,200 getting it installed when they can just deal with whatever the car is doing. As long as it won't break down on the side of the road, they're like, "Oh, I don't care. I don't care about the noise because I can barely afford to keep the car, much less fix it." It's like, and I know it's always a thing to say, "Oh, economy, economy," but yeah, the economy. What? Hmm. Hold on, my brain is a little. Oh, well, well, well. I messed that up. Holy crap! If you notice the difference in size of these two C's, because I did one extra stitch on the bottom part of this C, and now it is too long. We are this was an adventure today. Jeez. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the top part of the C, and then I'll probably unstitch it off stream, and then restitch it back on stream. I mean, I guess it'd be fine if, Lord. See, yeah, that's the little bitty counting problems that I say is that sometimes I get a little mixed up. It could be CwG, conversations with Greg. Oh man, today's just been a lot. I guess I shouldn't have unstitched it in the first place. I shouldn't have, because even though it looked kind of rough, at least it was correct. Oh well, that's the adventure. That's the cross stitch adventure. That's why I titled it Cross Stitch Adventure, because the adventure is making huge mistakes and then having to go back and fix those mistakes. It's not a huge mistake, but it is a mistake nonetheless. Also, one thing I'm not gonna be, I guess you could say, showing on the stream is when I frame it, and that's because I'm not great at framing. I've actually been trying to get better at it over time, but still. Yeah, got that C with the big chin there. It's that Chad C. See, it's 2:23 right now, so it gives me a few minutes before 12:30, and that'll be a great time to stop. Yep. It looks so goofy. So I'll show you the one that I've been working on off stream. Because again, I've got 3 of them to do, so I spent some time working on one of the other ones, working off stream. You see, I'm not far from being done on it. I just got to finish up the circle, and then this one's done, and then I can start on the next one. So you see, I've been putting a lot of work on it, you know. And then the other thing I want to show, I don't know if I showed this last stream. Come here. I have, in it, this is going to be a surprise to them, because I haven't mentioned it to them. But if anyone were to watch the stream, you see. See, I've got these where I made these little versions of the CwC logo that I'm going to send along with these other cross stitches, where they can use them as like a giveaway or something. They're a little dusty because they've just been sitting in here, and so I did it. You see where I also backed it so that it's kind of a complete thing. They're not all perfectly even, admittedly. Like the tension of the fabric isn't all perfectly even, but I think overall it's like a great miniaturized version, you know. But they're mostly centered well enough. And again, it's the first time I was doing something like this, because my Death Star one is also kept on a hoop, but it's not backed. And I had to tweak it a little bit to try to get better tension on it, but I don't know. But I think like these, they'd be great to do like a giveaway, especially if they make their goal like 1 week. They often do 3 rolls, so they could do these as giveaways in the rolls. Because I think something minor like this, I think people would really enjoy it. Or to just give away to people who've been big fans of the channel and stuff. I think it'd be great. You know, a great way to show my support, where I also don't, you know, that gives them something other than just money, because I do have a budget to maintain, and I'm trying to tweak that a lot. So that's another thing, is trying to work on my budget, so that I can work on certain things here and there, in hopes of trying to buy a house at least somewhat soon. But I've only started by getting the stuff I need to play the next Resident Evil game, which is going to be Code Veronica, but I haven't really put much effort into it. I do want to continue that series, but also I want to do a little bit of streaming of Payday 3 if I decide to continue playing it. Do not mind my dandruff, please. I shouldn't have worn a black shirt, but please don't mind it. I've got to if I decide to keep playing Payday 3, I'll start streaming it too. So it'll probably be like randomly throughout the week, just so I can put some hours in on that. But sometime soon I am going to get started on the Code Veronica one again. It's just I wanted to redo a lot of this stuff so I could continue this one, because this one I felt like was kind of the primary thing that I want to complete first. But then again, I've got a lot of other videos and projects in general that I've been working on. But anyway, it's just about 12:30, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out for today. So I'll be watching Kaz's stream, at least until I have to leave to go do my other stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope everyone has a good weekend.
CwC.